All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Are you ready, Patricia? All righty, let's do this. Okay, I want everybody to the arms of your chair or grip the desk or something, because we are going to be letting go today of the concept. Where's my slideshow? Letting go of the concept of being done.
No, I
I
want to be done.
know.
I want it now. I want it done. I don't like it when you say we're never done.
It's so funny to me because you and I have picked these topics to talk about different things. And this topic, I'm just really encouraged by the number of people that are here and grateful for the courage of this group. And I'm really excited about the hope of this. So, in this moment, tell us how you're feeling. I'd love for you to put something in the chat thread. What's going on for you right now? Notice, as we've been working on, notice what's happening right now in this moment. Just take a snapshot and put a word in the chat thread, please.
We are one big vegetable soup. All vegetables welcome. No wrong answer. What are you feeling in this moment? What's a word you are feeling in this moment? Oh, Jennifer feels tense, relaxed. Debbie, encouraged. Tracy, tense. Jennifer, yeah, enthusiastic, rested. Oh, good, Ran. I'm glad you rested. Glad, Nori. Curious, Verena. Another curious. Hi, Lori. Rose, happy, empowered and open, says Kelly Wood, walking. She's opening, walking her stride right now. Centering. Thanks, Tanya. Linda P, tired. Sure. Elizabeth, low energy. BB, happy. Judy's curious. Irene's ready. Oh boy. Oh boy. I'm a little nervous this morning. I'm always nervous right before.
My
Uh,
dad, who is a performer, said, if you are not nervous, there's going to be a problem on stage.
I do know that's true. So I'm in good shape then. That's
Yep.
what.
Yep. Absolutely. Patricia, would you tell us just a tad about you?
I've been a life coach for since the 1990s. I got my certification in 2004 because I thought, like in The Wizard of Oz, you're going to need a diploma. So I got my diploma, even though I have been coaching through empowerment life coaching with David Gershon and Gail Straub. And I work a lot with Everett. I do one of his coaching classes on Thursdays. And I've had my whole life, my whole adult life, because I was a very active kid. So I didn't have a problem young, but I did as soon as I reached adulthood and struggled for decades with trying to work on this as we all have, up and down, in and out, try a new one. It failed. Let's go to another one. It failed. Let's go to another one. Okay. Oh, there's a new one coming up. We'll try this one. How about this? This is something new I can try. I did that. I'm sure most people have. And got into bright line eating first time. It hit me about the brain stuff that had never, with all the work I had done before, and I've been in conscious awakening for a long time, I never understood the brain piece. So for the last 10 years, adding that to it, and then adding the work I've done myself and what I've come to, and watching people I've been working with and watching what they've come to. This is how the art of recovery working with Sonia for the last 4 years, bringing this concept of phases of recovery. This is why we're here in this moment.
Thank you, Patricia. You're a delight to work with. I feel a lot that we complement each other. We've talked about yin and yang before, you and I. And we could say there's male and female energy. We could also say that you and I create this whole perspective on things that I really love. That feels a little, I don't know, egotistical, but I do believe that you and I have really come up with something that's really magical here. I come from a long history of health related issues. I had severe asthma starting early. I was hospitalized at 18 months with severe allergies. Babies are not born allergic. And I developed very quickly a system that my father, very young, dubbed me as sophisticated. There were things that I was allergic to that the rest of the world just had no problem with. And through that, because of my dad's reframing, I developed, and I'm sure I had that innate ability as well. I know I'm a master reframer. I can say that with assurance. And one of the things I noticed in my 50s, early 50s, was that I was deathly ill with asthma and it was killing me. And I had to figure this out. I was seeing an asthma specialist, nothing was working. They were piling medications on, probably 5 different inhalers. I used nebulizer treatments. I was on regular steroids. You get the picture, right? I was a walking medicine cabinet. And I realized that if I made changes to my food and my environment, I might be able to kick this thing. And I did. I haven't had barely a cold in the last 10 years, which is crazy for me. So I need you all to hear that when we make changes to our food plan, it can have lasting impact. I have definitely focused on making shifts in the food plan in order to help me with my own system. I'm really good at that. Patricia has focused on what is beyond. And between the two of us, we've created this, I think, an amazing team. I would also like to mention that I have released 170 pounds and I've been maintaining this weight loss for, I don't know what, 6 years now? I don't know. Years go by. But the point I'm trying to make is that the brain and the science associated with it can help you in innumerable ways. And we're going to talk about those things today when we're talking about releasing these sort of constructs or these childhood desires to just be done. Do you want to read this, Patricia?
It's a quote from Laura McCowan. Sobriety is one of the rivers in life that we cannot cross alone. It's way too hard, far too deep. Despite the fact that I still cringe at it, I've come to see the fact that my dependence on others is ultimately beautiful, edifying, and even strangely confirming of my inimitable power. I like that as much as I cringe at it. I want to do it alone. I'm fine. I can handle it. I only have trouble. I'm not good in groups. I'm not good in groups. And the fact is, we're stronger. We can be stronger in group.
Yes, we can. And the idea that the cringing is going on is absolutely underneath parts that are just anxious about wanting to be safe. It doesn't feel safe to share. It doesn't feel safe to be vulnerable. It doesn't feel safe to expose my soft underbelly.
And I have evidence. I have evidence. I can tell you about this time and this time and this time where it wasn't safe.
That's right. This is an overview. We have 2 other master classes, one that we gave a couple of weeks ago, which over 100 people have watched. I'm really proud of that. Phase 1 is on the concept of getting your program in order and starting to recognize what your own rules are, designing what works for you, creating your own personal pathway that can help you. Most everyone knows what has worked in the past. Most everyone has a concept of something, but for whatever reason, you've been derailed. And guess what gets highlighted over and over again is your derailment and not your successes. So noticing your habitual patterns, recognizing what the neuroscience is behind that, and getting to a place of peace and calm rather than gripping that steering wheel, to relax into it. That's one of the most amazing aspects of this, is to relax into it. It is a very anathema to our teachings and our past. Did you want to say something about phase 1, Patricia?
Oh, we all come in to dealing with our food issues because we just don't want to do it anymore. So just tell me how to not do it anymore. And we might be great for 6 months. We might be great for a month. I was so good for 3 months. What happened? I don't understand what happened, because we're going down through layers of emotions and trauma and things that have happened to us that are triggering what we always went to when we were stressed, which was the food. So that's phase 1 is just the beginning. It's not the end. We want to have phase 1 be the beginning and the end. Tell me what to do. I want to get to a certain weight. Thank you. Goodbye. I'm good. So this class is really about deepening into what's in the way. How come I was good for 3 months and I'm not now? Or I was so good for a year. What happened?
And frankly, we see so much evidence of other people being successful, and they land the plane and they walk in these beautiful, we see pictures of them climbing Mount Everest and zip lining across mountain. We see those things and we we put ourselves against them as if somehow we're a failure because of what we see them doing.
And if we go off because of this total perfection, if we go off, we think it's over. What the heck? Might as well all or nothing. We don't look at it in a way that we can get back. We're not beginning again. We have all this behind us. We have a lot of information behind us. We can use it as we go forward.
Phase two. I don't know how many of you know of Brene Brown's definition of the messy middle, but it's basically the part of the book. You know how some people pick up a book and they read the ending because they know what the ending is going to be? I'm not trying to belittle people that do that, but I think that we all want to skip the middle, and not of a book necessarily, because there are some books that I just love marinating in, but that's the change. I want people to appreciate and adore the messiness of the middle. The perfectionist part that keeps coming out and demanding recognition, or the procrastinator and you resisting and you just know, I want to go for this walk, but I don't want to go for this walk. Or I want to batch cook my food, but I don't want to batch cook my food. The unconscious limiting beliefs. Oh my goodness, there's so many. I'll never get to goal weight. I'll never keep my weight off. I'm always going to struggle. I'm not worth anything. So I have to do all of these things for other people to show them.
This always happens to me.
Yeah, I'm too much. I'm too little. I'm too big. I'm too small.
And things come up daily in the present, like our day. We go along our day and boom, we'll get hit with something that throws us back. And phase two is about working through that, working through it. So we don't have to have it be only that we go to our friend to get comatose, our friend food that we think is our friend, and get comatose because we don't want to think about it anymore because our mind is rattling. We'll have to learn how to unrattle, slowly take this apart. And this takes, I call it archaeology. We have to go like archaeologists, go deeper and deeper safely where we feel safe, because a lot of people that I've worked with, they're afraid to go deeper. So they quit before they go deeper because they think it's going to get worse.
Or they have actual parts of them that are so protective. No, we're not going there. That's too scary. That's not safe. It's interesting to me about this messy middle. The idea of letting go is what we're talking about today, and releasing those old precepts that say, I just want to be finished. I just want to land the plane. I don't want to have to think about my food anymore. I don't want to have to worry about the next gathering and what's going to happen. I'm not saying those things aren't going to occur. I'm not saying you're not going to be smacked in the face with what I call SWCC, stuff we can't control. But our old concept that a diet is supposed to work, and if it doesn't work, it's my fault. And the diet is supposed to be a finite time frame. It's supposed to last a certain while. And then Weight Watchers, we get a lifers thing, or we land the plane and we're now at this magic number between 4 pounds. And we stay there forever because we've whittled down and amplified or added food to get to that certain place. Guess what, guys? Stuff happens. I was in a great place. Then my mom and dad started dying on me. Damn it. And then I was in this, okay, now my knee is messing with me. That changes my energy level. That changes my metabolism. These things happen. And how do we deal with them? It's really, you can deal with them by yourself, but it's much harder to deal with them alone. Oh, I get to take a deep breath when I think about phase three. I like to look at this as the phase where we discover what we were when we were born, because we're born whole. And then things pile up on us. People around us that are taking delicious and delightful care of us screw it up somehow. We can't be sure as parents that what we're doing for our children is helpful. But I know that I got a lot of stuff piled on me when I was a kid. And I got more stuff piled on me and I created more. And I created this whole, I had severe anxiety when I was in college, severe anxiety about getting it right and doing it right and being perfect. And those kinds of things create a brain cycle. And when we can whittle away at the things that are untruths, like we said earlier, relaxing about whether or not something is a certainty. This is a truth. This is a truth. I am an anxious person. No, actually, most people that know me now would never have guessed I was super anxious in college. We can release those things. What do you want to say about this, Patricia?
I want to say that if you can come away from this hour talk with one idea, which is, I want it to be over, to move from I want it to be over to I'm on this beautiful journey that keeps uncovering more and more richness for me. It's a change in how you're looking at it, right? Looking at it as this obstacle that you have not been able to conquer into, oh, these things are coming up. These life lessons are coming up for me to be able to work through for my own betterment. Maybe it's even why I came to Earth, to learn these things piece by piece and put them together. And the effect that would have in the world. You hear about the butterfly wings, right? The butterfly, but I don't know how it goes, but I know it's about that butterfly flapping its wings goes out and affects everyone. So if you can come away with transforming the thing you do in your mind when you beat yourself up because you're not there yet, and come into, oh, I'm learning. This gives me an opportunity to learn and learn. And when you find, and so what we do here is go over in much more detail what these phases are. And it's not a phase like now you're in the third phase, you're beyond recovery. You're going to flop through first, second, third, back. It's like all goes on simultaneously.
And that process might be a little bit easier to understand if you were to think about how sophisticated you are in certain things and how much you feel like a child in other things. That's what we're talking about here, because frankly, literally everything in our lives could impact whether or not we go to food. Literally everything, because it is the beginning, middle, and end of what we did as little ones, probably from the womb. We became very clear that the one thing that gave us compassion and strength and numbing and soothing was food. And that is the thing that our brains taught us to go to immediately. So if you think about every single reason you might go to food, guess what? That's our work. That's our life. I do know that when we start developing the tools that we work on with this, which is what we talk about in the cornerstones, noticing is a huge piece of awareness. It actually physically tells you, okay, we're gonna pull out of that trigger, pull out of the amygdala, and we're gonna get to the noticing, which paths us back to the prefrontal cortex, which allows us to pause and plan and look at the situation from a logical perspective and from a philosophical and literally, I can look and think, okay, wait a minute. Am I really hungry right now? Or am I trying to fix this other problem? That's what noticing does. Noticing is one of the major cornerstones from our perspective on conquering, if you will, or working through the three phases.
Look what I just said to myself. Look what I just said to myself. I just said, you're never going to, if I talk to my friend that way, I wouldn't dare talk to my friend that way because I love my friend and I wouldn't talk to her that way. But look at how I'm talking. You have to notice. You first have to notice it. You don't have to do anything about it. You just have to notice it. Because when you notice it, it puts you into it moves you from that mind into your center.
It literally does pull you out of a different part of your brain. You're out of the lizard brain and into the capability of using all of your senses, all of your abilities. That's what noticing does. It's both neurological and aware. It really does do a ton of things, but it feels, wait a minute, all I'm doing is noticing. How am I working on this stuff? Noticing is huge. And then there's resonance. Resonance is something that we talked at length about in the second masterclass that we gave last week. I just want to fill you in just a tad if you either missed it or forgotten. Resonance is the key to the healing. So every time you get triggered, your prefrontal cortex goes offline and your amygdala takes hold, and your amygdala becomes the action. It rallies the troops, it gathers and closes up ranks, and it immediately launches the thing that we've gone to so many other times in the past. It's why we find ourselves mindlessly eating. It's why we find ourselves unable to stop ourselves from pulling into that fast food place. The amygdala gets triggered. Guess what resonance does? When we can sit in resonance with ourselves and with others, it literally heals us. It literally heals that particular situation that has been stuck in the amygdala because it feels traumatic, to relaxing the concept. When you can identify the emotion, that's why the feelings wheel is such a big deal. When you can identify the emotion, most of us haven't felt emotions. Most of us have numbed ourselves. When we can feel and identify that emotion, you can feel the epiphany in your body. I can feel it. When I've identified an emotion that, oh, wow, of course, I feel really bereft about this situation. I feel hopeless. I don't feel like I can do anything about this situation. That feels really hard to sit in. But if you can sit in that hopelessness for just even a minute and certainly share it out, that can absolutely release that trigger from the amygdala. It literally releases it. It moves it to the hippocampus, which if you know anything, if you've noticed anything about your triggers, it feels like the thing had just happened. When you move it to the hippocampus, it goes back to the normal timeline. Literally, okay, yeah, that event definitely happened, or that situation happened, but it doesn't pull you into that moment again. It sits in the timeline. It's a huge thing. Resonance literally heals. I can't say enough about it. It's the cornerstone to the healing.
To be heard. Because when we were kids, it was like, I'll give you something to be bored about. We weren't heard. And our parents were going through their own muck. But as a 2-year-old, as a 4-year-old, as a 6-year-old, we heard it as something's wrong with us. To find resonance where you can be heard and not be given advice unless you asked for it. Not, did you try this? Did you try that? Did you ever do this? Did you ever do that? That keeps on. I know we're doing it to be helpful. I know we've been trained to do it. It's what we've heard. It's what we say, because it's been our examples, just trying to get you out of that problem. But just to be heard, just to hear somebody, let them express themselves is the medicine. It's the medicine.
Marianne asked a question. Sometimes the noticing comes when one is already deep in the food. Absolutely. How can one catch it sooner? Okay, so there's several things I'm hearing at this point. First of all, when you're watching yourself, we're often hypercritical and angry and upset and frustrated by just the idea that we went to food. Guess what? That's an automatic knee-jerk reaction. Would you get upset with I don't even know what an example is of an infant doing something automatically, but just imagine an infant doing something. We're not going to get upset with them. When we can first notice that we're doing it, second, notice what our reaction is, and then peel into why we went to the food. This is an opportunity, guys. I've always said that when we go to food, it's a beautiful opportunity. It's a neon sign that says, we have a gift because we know that is wrong. We can watch ourselves do it. Wrong as in it's not healthy. It's something I want to stop. It's something that isn't supportive of my future. When we can notice what's going on around it, Martha Beck calls it walking back the cat, where you can literally walk back and say, I didn't have enough self-care today. I was feeling really prickly. I had no sleep. I was late waking up and I had no time for my morning routine, whatever that is. And when we can start noticing what's going on around it, releasing the idea that we should beat ourselves up, and then looking at the underlying reasons, that's the gift. That's reflecting, not regret, but reflecting back. And that's a beautiful opportunity. Anytime you go to food, it's an opportunity. Does that make sense, Marianne?
And Marianne, nothing's wrong that you went to the food. How could you not go? These are automatics that we have done all our lives to that we thought would release something, but noticing it pulls us back into what was going on. Let me just take some breaths here. Doesn't mean we don't ever return to food ever, but we don't have to return to food in the way of that the past was returning to. We can use it as a marker to remind us that there's some work here to be done. There's something here to be done. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. So I love that you said that. I'm noticing it while I'm eating. We don't even talk about that because we're not supposed to even admit that we ate anything. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. Does that make sense? Yeah. I'm noticing that I did that. And resonance is calling a friend who can hear you and say, you know what I noticed? I noticed I ate, but then when I looked at it, I was trying to figure out what it was. And I remember that yesterday, my husband said this to me and I was so angry. I don't know. I'm just using that resonance. So noticing, resonance is all these four things that we're going to talk about all blend in together. And we should be able to, yesterday, in one of the magic calls, I'm on Sonia's Magic. She has a group, and every day I'm on a call. It's a half an hour. And I talked about the thing that most shamed me, a memory that I had, that I have more shame than anything else that I can think of in the moment that I was thinking about this shame feeling. And I just was able to just say this thing that I felt so much shame that I did. And I did do this thing. And nobody tried to jump in the group because of their training on resonance. They got really quiet. And I realized, oh, you're all thinking about things you feel shame about, aren't you? And we all kind of laughed about it. But yeah, to have a place that I can get rid of these toxins, doesn't mean you go out and you tell everybody all the things you're ashamed about. I'm not just talking about, I'm just using that as an example of claiming instead of hiding your stuff.
And because it's so complicated, it feels okay. It feels like the Christmas tree lights, the Christmas lights that Ross is having to unravel in Christmas Vacation. It's this massive ball. You know that unraveling that feels, it is very complicated. And it's bit by bit, it's moment by moment. And that's where trusted connection comes in. Because Patricia felt comfortable to talk about this yesterday. People feel comfortable in places that they can feel trust. You may not feel trust in this situation right now. You would not maybe feel comfortable talking about something very personal right now here. That would be really challenging for you. And it might be over what Patricia likes to call your growing edge. That might be over that. And I just want you to hear that developing that trust is also a leap of faith and recognizing, okay, I have choices here. I can stay where I am. I can stay in my comfort zone that is actually loaded with pain, but it's pain I know. Or I can open up into the possibility, okay, Sonia knows stuff. Patricia knows stuff. I at least feel comfortable with them. That's the point that we're trying to make. Do you feel trusted connection in your life?
Safe.
Yeah.
When I was first in that group, I didn't feel safe because I had my voices that were in there about how people take me and how protecting myself and all. That's a process. It's part of the process. And practicing again and again.
Practica.
My Spanish teacher says.
Okay. The whole point of this call is that we wanted to talk about this myth. I would love for people to just think about the idea that, okay, I'm going to start this diet on Monday and I'm going to go I've calculated I'm going to lose 6.5 pounds a month and I'm going to be done because I have this much weight to lose and I'm going to be done by X and I'll be able to attend the wedding and be gorgeous in the pictures. I'm certain everyone has had that. And is that wrong? No. But when we talk about the idea that I will never have to focus on my weight again. Once I land at this number, I'm going to be fine. I'll buy all new clothes. Everything will be great. But understanding the desire for finality, the appeal of reaching a destination in recovery, this can be really hard work. Who wants to continue doing that? That's why being done is so attractive. That's why you see things like 30 days to eat this gummy and you'll lose 40 pounds of belly fat in 20 days or whatever it is. That's why you're attracted to things like that. It's human. It's human.
And a shift occurs by continuing the journey, by continuing. It shifts from, I don't want to look at this, or this is hard. It becomes exciting. It has for me. It has really become, when something comes up that I get a chance to look at and notice and work through, it has become exhilarating for me to put another piece in the puzzle, my puzzle of me. It feels good. And in so doing, I am helpful to the people that I'm working with, because if I notice it myself, I can notice it in others and I can help them through it.
And I do want to say that the reality of recovery as a lifelong journey, I know myself, I love the journey. I love journey to places. I love arriving at some place, but that journey is a part of our lives. I think about, when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, I was thinking about the last days for my mom and how she had really released, I believe, dementia and Alzheimer's is basically our parts are splitting off and leaving. Our essential self is leaving way earlier than our body is releasing from this plane. And it was really amazing watching as my mom was finalizing her last weeks and months of her journey in particular. Recovery as a process for us, I'm not ready to be in that place where my mom was in the last few months. I want to continue to grow, and to think that I still have the same issues that I had 5 years ago. I don't, but I'm still on this journey. I've resolved some issues. That's what we talk about, the 3 phases. I have some phases in my journey that I feel very much like I've reached 3rd phase. I'm beyond worrying about those particular things. I'm beyond worrying. One of the things that I let go of in the gift of my father passing was let go of the idea that I had to be there and take care of my brothers 24/7. I'm 65 years old. My brothers are old. Why would I think I needed to take care of them? But the gift that my father gave me was to allow me to realize I can't fix them. I don't want to fix them. I want them to experience it. I can walk with them. That's the difference. Accompanying versus fixing. Walking with someone. Think about the things that have shifted for you. You may be, as a 20-something, we're really crazy about something. Everything is black and white when we're younger. Guess what? There's a lot of gray in this world. We have evolved. And that's the point of this, that the reality of recovery as a lifelong journey is that it isn't a destination. And the importance of ongoing maintenance and growth. We can say that we are growing. We can absolutely say that as part of the journey. And my problems of 20, when I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol, that was a big deal for me. I don't have that issue anymore. I've released that. But this is part of my journey. The psychological aspects of wanting to be done, these childhood instant gratification. Do you want to talk something about that, Patricia?
Yeah, it's really important to examine that concept. Oh, this is exciting. And as soon as I go on that, I'm going to be done. That's an important thing to notice in yourself and look at. And it comes to us naturally because we're getting promoted. We're promoting, go on this journey with us, and you'll be awake, more and more awake, and more happy, and more alert. But it's not 20 days to it. And it's just a concept that we have to look at what's wrong with us. There's this concept that I need to work on what's wrong with me. Okay, I worked on that. Now this next thing that's wrong with me, I have to work on. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what something's come up for me that I get the opportunity to look at more closely, as opposed to being a victim of something happening to me again, because we feel out of control because we're not controlling them to make it feel better for us. All those layers, there's so many layers to it. I don't know. There's a lot of psychological aspects of wanting to be done that stem from probably before our childhood, from ancestry, things that were passed on from our ancestors to us.
Yeah, boy, think about moms so worried about their daughters finding the right husband. That's what my mom would worried about. Sonia, you're too smart. Sonia, you're not going to find a husband because nobody wants a smart girl. The danger of the finish line mentality. You want to talk about this, Patricia?
The risk of relapse when goals aren't reached, it's all or nothing mentality. Instead of looking at it as, we can look at it in another way. We can look at, oh, I put this in my mouth. What's going on? Why did I do that? There's probably something in there that I need to look at. Nothing's wrong. And just the hell with it. I just want to crunch something in my mouth because I'm so angry, but I don't even know I'm angry. I just want it. I just like the taste of this food. It can be so distant from what we're doing, but we're not looking at what's wrong. We're trying to just uncover. And that's a process of a new thing coming up and another new thing and another new thing coming up. And we don't want it to be that. We want it to be done.
I don't think of this as, I would say we will always be on a diet because everyone is always on a diet. Everyone has a food plan of some sort, not even a plan necessarily, but everyone eats most of the time. Everyone eats. That's a diet. Can you shift it or can you call it? I, for one, have very specific sacred boundaries that I call my plan. And it has shifted mightily over the last 8 years. As my physical issues have reared their ugly head, it has shifted mightily as my stress issues have. I combine a lot of different things and not just what I'm putting in my pie hole. But if you were to reframe that and say, I have a life that I want to live, I want to live vibrantly. Reframing recovery is a way of life rather than a temporary state. There's a fear there associated with, you mean I'm going to do this forever? But embracing the ongoing nature of self-care and growth and recognizing, okay, all right, I have an opportunity to find joy every day. I have an opportunity to look for magic. I have an opportunity here that I can focus on my gratitude. My life is very different than it was. Does that mean I'm finished? No, it just means that I've grown.
How is it not going to be that as you live each day, things aren't going to come up to be dealt with? How's that going to be possible? People we love die. There's things that come up that are really serious things, and not the things that aren't even really serious, but we think are really serious come up. We have to learn how to process and get supported for being through that. We're not trying to get to be like, oh, kumbaya all the time. We're trying to allow things to come in that we can look at and grow from.
The biggest energy suck for many of us is the battle that we do. Just like what Marianne was asking, how can one catch it sooner? How can I fix this? How can I stop this? How can I change this? If we were to accept recovery as a continuous journey, think about the release of the energy suck that comes from constantly battling ourselves. It allows for increased resilience and an opportunity for personal development. That's what we're talking about here. Just think about releasing the grip on the steering wheel. That in itself can be very scary, but it can also be very freeing. There's a lot here.
We've really talked about this, and just another slide with words on it that go into that, because really what we're doing in third phase is, who are we? If I'm not just on a freaking diet and that's all I'm dealing with is what the number on the scale is, who am I in the world?
I want to acknowledge grief and the importance of allowing ourselves to feel that, whatever it is. Grief at the idea that this is a lifelong thing, that can be pretty overwhelming. I just think that thing changes just like a kaleidoscope. But allowing for the idea of grieving the loss is a quick fix fantasy. It can lead to peace and acceptance if you allow yourself to do that grieving. I want to read this very quickly. Trusted connection is the antidote to addiction. Think about that for a minute. Bruce Perry wrote this book with Oprah Winfrey called What Happened to You? We get into this sort of struggle about the things that happen to us as somehow our responsibility, or because that somehow it's my fault, or it's embarrassing or shame-filled or guilt-ridden. Trusted connection allows you to release the concept of alarmed aloneness, which is in itself a place we go when it's too much. I know myself, I isolated tremendously when I was living in Southern California. I was morbidly obese. I felt very uncomfortable most of the time. I would get into my room and I would stay there. And then I'd go to work the next day and I go back to my room. That was my safe place. When I started finding trusted connection, it was literally the antidote for me. The feelings of alarmed aloneness above all pushes us to food, which is the huge irony. The only thing that I felt safe with, I knew for certain that food was going to give me exactly what I needed every single time. Now, did it work for hours or days or weeks? No, but it fixed me in that moment. And I didn't know anything else. We do have the capability of releasing and shifting instead of that dopamine hit to get oxytocin and serotonin and endorphins that support us when we have positive social connection. Anything else you want to say about this, Patricia? One of your favorite authors. Do you want to read this?
Without the understanding that we need a particular form of aid at every crucial threshold in our lives, and without the robust vulnerability in asking for that help, we cannot pass through the door that bars us from the next dispensation of our lives. We cannot birth ourselves. Without the understanding that we need a particular form of aid at every crucial threshold in our lives, and without the robust vulnerability in asking for that help, we cannot pass through the door that bars us from the next dispensation of our lives. We cannot birth ourselves.
I think one of the major themes in my life, one of the major lessons is asking for help. I find myself diving into the reasons why something happens or the reasons why I do these things. Because if I can learn it for myself, then I don't need to ask for help. It's a really vulnerable place to be in. But if you feel trusted, it's like that game they play with corporates where you fall backward. You have your hands like this and you fall backward and someone catches you. That requires an immense amount of trust. And that's what we're talking about. Courage and vulnerability to sit in this trust. So
And
before,
courage, I'm sorry, just want to say this about courage, Sonia. Courage doesn't feel like courage. It feels like fear.
yeah, let's take a deep breath, everybody. I would love to hear what's going on for you right now. Can you give us a moment? Irene says dispensation means exemption from a rule or usual requirement. Yeah. Can you give us what you're noticing right now? I'm really curious how this is landing for people. How are you feeling right now?
What's a word? No wrong answers. Debbie's grateful to be on this journey with us, with all of us. Nori's settled. Arena's open. Sonia is curious, as always. Calmness, Rose. What's a word?
I love you, Linda.
We got you.
Yep.
We got you, Linda. We got you.
Oh, unsettled. We got you, Tracy.
Sometimes we just look at everything that's not perfect and we just have to just be where we are. We just have to be where we are. Look at, you're sitting here taking in some knowledge. Just going to see, and we're running through our minds what's wrong. Nothing's wrong. It's all coming up for good. Judy's informed.
Kelly says, where is it? Settled and hearing this again.
We can't hear it too much. It's really important to be in the conversation. Oh, I did that. I don't have to do it again. It's really important to stay in this conversation because we're just deepening. And as we go deeper, we're going to hear things differently. We're going to absorb things differently. Yeah, it's like reading something over and over again. You're not wasting your time. Kathy's validated. Jill's relieved and happy. Nothing's wrong. Yes, loving this journey, living this way, noticing, going deeper. Marianne, thank you. Feels like an aha moment. What's the aha moment, Marianne? Can you say that or a little bit more about that? You don't have to.
I can see myself clearly between phase 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
But I never really saw it. Sonia's been saying it, but I didn't really categorize it so clearly in my mind. And I'm very analytical. For me, that works.
Beautiful. And it's a process and it's practice. And we go through it again. Oh, and we hear it a little bit differently. Oh, and we just like what happened to you, Mary. You're just hearing this a little bit differently now. You heard it before, and you're hearing it a little bit differently.
And I now very clearly see something that happened to me on Tuesday. And I could see it when I was in the moment, but I did it anyway. But it's even more clear to me.
Sometimes we do it anyway
that was it. I did it. I know why I was doing it. I could feel it, but I didn't care. I did it anyway.
Sometimes we do it anyway. And if we can, okay, course correct, not like we should not have done that. Here I go again. I never get it right. If we can just go, okay, and I did it anyway.
That's actually true. Yes, I was able to stop it after about an hour. I was able to, and it didn't throw me off for the rest of the day or throw me off for the week or anything. I was able to course correct more easily.
That's what we're trying to do.
And not only that, Marianne, how does it feel to share it here?
Good.
Absolutely. There's a catharsis to it. This is so interesting and complicated and fascinating because there are so many facets to it. It's like a very complicated weave of a tapestry. And the more that we can, in some cases, we need to unravel it. In some cases, we've been knitting this thing and we realize, oh my gosh, I've been dropping a stitch every sixth and that's screwing up the whole design. The idea of literally pulling that out and starting over, but not because you've already done this thing before and you recognized your error. It's for me, like we all know the feeling when we've lost our keys. At some point we learn that we're going to make a habit of noticing I'm going to put my keys back in the same spot every day. At some point we learn. And often our learning is from the worst things that happen to us. And that's what post-traumatic growth is all about. Now we could say, oh, come on, it's not the same. Every day I go and do this thing in the afternoon. Or every evening I grab this thing. That is a thing that's happening to you that is frustrating and upsetting and anxiety producing until it's not. And at some point you get to figure it out and unravel it. And we need to understand, it helps, we don't need to, but it helps to understand the brain science behind it. It helps to understand the sociological and the behavioral impacts of all of those situations. That's why I say it's complicated, but it's simple. And so if you think about the 3 phases in just that one situation that you were talking about Tuesday, you realized, okay, I feel like I really am between phases 2 and 3, because that feels, okay, I'm aware of it. How many of us mindlessly ate for decades? Now you're aware of it. So you are definitely beyond the initial phase of just, oh, I gotta clean this thing up en masse. You're at a place where you're now starting to pause and ponder and think about and reflect back. Maybe you're less hard on yourself. That's a big piece of this, is to get past the inner critic. Yeah, a really big piece. Because that's a layer, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think when you notice it and you figure out why you're doing it, it's easier to not be critical of yourself because there's an explanation.
I'll tell you why that is, Marianne. When we're being critical, when we're going, oh my God, here I go again, you are in your mind. And when you go into, wait a minute, I'm noticing this, you're going to your center, you're going to, and from a brain point of view, you're literally going from one part of the brain to another part of the brain that literally feels relief. And it's what I call, you're being self-led, capital self-led. You're being led from your authentic self. When you do that, it's a shift. And you can feel the shift because you feel differently.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that makes any sense, but it'll become more, it will make more and more sense.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Marianne. I think it was really helpful. That's the point of this. We may not speak during this whole time together, but I know everyone has probably related at some point or other to what Marianne was talking about. And there are ways for us to whittle away. Just like Michelangelo started with a big piece of marble that was actually very flawed. Michelangelo's The David marble was very flawed, and he had to figure out the logistics of creating this amazing masterpiece and that's what I'm talking about. We're chipping away. And the hardest part about all of this is realizing this isn't going to be done in 5 weeks. This isn't going to be done in 12 days. I'm not going to be done. But what if that was actually a huge gift? What if it was a gift to know I'm not going to be done? I have time. I have space. I can make this happen over time. I can make things change. And I can get to a place where now I don't even recognize myself from where I was 20 years ago. That's what we're talking about here, is the journey of shifting. And who are you today? I can guarantee you, every single one of you, if you were to reflect back on who you were 30 years ago, Patricia.
Yeah, let's go over what is covered. Hopefully, if you walk away with something, you will walk away from something in this class about not being over. That would be a huge gift to you, and it's our gift to you. And we want to go over what we've been doing in this art of recovery and what we're continuing to do to continue the conversation, to continue the deepening, to continue the awakening.
I want to say that this is the Art of Recovery program that Patricia and I ran in January for 6 months. And there are several people that were in this program from January to June-ish that are here with us today. If you have something in that you feel is a beautiful takeaway, you're here today. Could you put something in the chat thread about what was really instrumental and supportive for you? And you're welcome to put more than one word. But I wanted to mention that what we're talking about is a 3+ month program where we have 12 weekly module watch parties. We'll explain a little bit more about the watch parties from Verina's amazing slides in just a minute, but I want to just go into just the logistics. We'll show you in just a second what those 12 weekly modules look like. There's 12 weekly modules. There's 2 live coaching calls. There's a midweek deeper dive that we're adding in that will be 30, 45 minutes, depending on attendance. On Thursdays, it'll be designed to go over if someone can't make the Saturday calls. We want to be able to have this accessible. And one of our brilliant people that isn't, I don't think she's on the call right now. No, I don't think she is. But one of the brilliant people that wanted to take this course, but was worried about missing out because she's not available Saturday mornings this time. If this feels like a hard thing to attend, we do want to use this deeper dive on Thursdays. So you'll have access to the module. And then on Thursdays, we'll talk about it a little bit more in deeper dive. The weekly module watch parties will be at 7 a.m. Saturdays, Pacific time, 10 a.m. So this time on Saturdays, starting next week. The live coaching calls will be interspersed. So there'll be actually 14 weeks of class offerings. And then we'll have, like I said, this midweek deeper dive. So if you can't attend the call on Thursday, or even if you can, and you want to go deeper and you want to ask more questions, or if you want to dive into some of the concepts. And then Patricia and I will be doing, oh, by the way, that will be on Thursdays at 4 p.m. Pacific, 10 or 7 p.m. Eastern. We're also offering 2 private one-on-one 20-minute sessions with either or both of us, Patricia or I, during this 3+ months. And we promise action-oriented active learning. That is what supports the healing. When I talked about the amygdala needing to be supported and resonant support to allow the healing, the literal healing, so that you're not triggered by those things from the past anymore. So that things that used to upset you no longer do. It doesn't mean they're not still important, but they don't rile up your parts or your activity. They don't rile you like they used to. I call them impotent.
I just like to read a couple of testimonials here from people who have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kelly says it's so freeing now. At first it wasn't. It was scary and I didn't want to hear it. I'm so glad I didn't isolate and hide when it got hard. Rose agrees. Jill says, loving the practicing, noticing, and self-compassion. Tracy says, the reminder to keep noticing, learning how to be resonant, and recognizing alarmed aloneness. It's been a good practice for Tracy. That's great, Tracy. Yeah. Jill again says, absolutely doing this again. Love the deepening, loving and accepting myself and accepting the healing. Irene, in the art of recovery, I gained an understanding of some of my most powerful underlying beliefs that were harmful to me. I've been working on changing them and not reacting, reaching from those beliefs. Lovely. Rose feels support, hope, faith, energy, calmness, answers, tools, best course I've ever done. A lifelong journey is exciting now. And it's so gratifying to see right in front of us the changes that we see in people. It's evident, it becomes evident. BB, thanks. Love this program. It was a real awakening. Also accepting the idea that this is a lifelong journey, not a diet. I have friends that are looking for the perfect diet still. Yeah, I understood. I've done it for years. I did it for years. This program with Debbie says it was so worthwhile, was so worth the investment. I notice how much more centered and more confident in my own abilities to make choices and decisions. This community is safe and resonant. I am excited for the opportunities to learn and grow. I am uncovering more and more of the authentic me. That's a lifelong journey, eh, Debbie? What a beautiful adventure life is. Thank you so much. That is the turnaround, the adventure of life, as opposed to why is this happening to me? Other people don't have this. What we're doing here is we're repeating 12 modules from the Art of Recovery with us being present there, listening and adding conversation and noticings that happen during when we're all together. And then also having a Thursday evening for people who've missed it or just want to go over things, just a half-hour Q&A and conversation.
Just FYI, these are the 14 modules, if you will, or the 14 classes. The green are the 2 coaching sessions, and the remainder are the courses, the modules that we'll be talking about. The first one is on noticing your inner critic, and noticing is a huge part of phase 1 in particular, but it's something, as we said, it's a cornerstone. And then we go from criticism to curiosity and allowing ourselves the space from which to relax, as we mentioned with Marianne, about looking at the situation from a different perspective and relax about it. That's a huge piece of it. It's not a quick one and done fix, but when you can release the inner critic and recognize and notice, just noticing is a huge gift. Patricia does an amazing job of examining core beliefs in particular. And we combine the concept of limiting core beliefs with unconscious contracts that Sarah Payton uses. And these two, so your limiting core beliefs comes from your empowerment training, and mine comes from the extensive work I've done with Sarah Payton. And then we look at your program, your food plan. Is there something we can shift? Is there something that we can adjust that might help make things a lot easier? Frankly, they don't like the changes I recommend, but they're working. And sometimes they're perfect, and sometimes it's exactly what people needed. Again, recognizing what your sacred boundaries are and building on those and looking at them differently than feeling like there's this rigidity. Often we rebel against how many of us have a rebel part that just will not listen because we've never been able to say no to anything, and we still don't say no to other people, but we're going to say no to this because we have control and we have power. And when we can release that concept and look at what our sacred boundaries are, it's a beautiful thing. Do you want to talk about second phase, the courses?
Yes, I'm swallowing water.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, here's where we talk about the things in the messy middle. Instead of it's all or nothing with the food, we go into different aspects of that archaeology we have to do within ourselves to find out. We look at perfectionism, we look at limiting beliefs and unconscious contracts, and we look at letting go. We begin to allow things to be the way they are as opposed to the way it should be because we want it to be a certain way. I don't know if anyone has that in their lives, but I would guess we do.
And then in the third phase, what we talked about today was discovering your gifts beyond food and body. One of the biggest things I find is that people struggle to get down to quote unquote their goal weight. They either don't have a concept of what that number actually should be, which I could go on for days about that, but they also struggle with other reasons why they don't want to be thin or why they don't want to be in a certain body, why the food is their only solace. And that's what Trusted Community can help with, as well as resonance and noticing. And then we go to cultivating curiosity, looking at Patricia and I talk about the third phase as, do you know those scenes in the movies where the archaeology group is walking through this cave or whatever, and then they come out upon this beautiful, amazing world that they didn't even know existed, that is full of life and activity and green and flowing, beautiful nirvana. Frankly, that's what I consider discovering your gifts. You've just been working so hard on this that you didn't look up and see what's a possibility there. So that's why cultivating curiosity, continuing to practice self-compassion and discovering your wholeness and what could that look like. That's what the third phase is.
Yeah, I could do a shortcut for you with the third phase. Third phase is coming from your center, making decisions that come from your center, from your authentic self. That's it. Getting there, going through these phases and and dissecting it and coming in and understanding it and embracing it more and more, we come more and more to all our actions come from our center as opposed to our reactions.
Anytime you have an outsized emotion, I don't care what it is, that's a part of you that has basically been activated. For whatever reason, there's either a safety issue or a shame issue or a guilt issue or a fear issue that's underlying that reactivity. And that's the work. And just going, wow, that's interesting. Because you do have the capacity to notice and reflect and be curious about it, and maybe even chuckle a little bit, which for sure releases the anxiety. So the other slide that we wanted to make sure you saw was what the hell is a watch party? And Verena, who's on screen right now, who is our guru architect, I just want to plug Verena Metzger for just a second. Patricia and I have known Verena for years in different capacities. Verena has worked with Everett Considine and created a ton of what his product is. If you don't know him, he works with internal family systems and bright line eating. And I've known Verena for a very long time myself, and so has Patricia. And Patricia recognized what was going on with her in Everett and said, I wonder if Verena could help us, because Patricia and I together are brilliant, but boy, do we suck at organizing.
You needed the blueprints.
Yep.
Verena can write down what we're doing in a blueprint.
So one of the things that Patricia and I were like, I don't know how to explain this, but we found this by accident when we were putting on the Art of Recovery in January through July. We found that we had spaces, and there were some people who were missing some of the classes. And so we thought, Tommy actually came up with this. She said, let's do a watch party. So we created an event and people came, watched the class, and we talked about it. In this situation, we've got an opportunity here for watching these classes and then creating and reflecting. So we'll watch the class together. We deepen our understanding of the modules and phases, and we reflect, we become aware, and we find meaning. So the classes will be rolled out to you each week online. There's a place online for you to access everything. And as we roll out these classes, we're going to do the watch party with them. And then we'll have another, as we mentioned, another session on Thursdays where we will have just a conversation or a Q&A, whatever is important in that space. Do you want to talk about one of these other sections, Patricia?
The noticing that we're going to be reviewing these, going over again these. Okay. So let's go over resonance here. We're walking together, we're witnessed, we feel deeply understood. And we try to really pull you in and engage you if you can. We do here, and there's really important to know that there's no wrong answers. Even if I'm not getting any of this, please explain this, or please don't feel, I know you'll feel awkward about that, but there's no need to, because we're open to answer questions that you might have. Yeah, we're deepening your understanding by being there present with each other, what resonance really is.
Obviously connection, because we're doing these together. If you can't make the Saturday calls, that's the hope for the Thursday afternoon calls or evening, depending on your time zone. Our hope is that we create a safe space that we can foster trust. It takes time, There are a bunch of people on this call that have already taken the course, and I know they feel easier about it. There's a few people I could highlight, but I won't, that have really benefited from their own courage in continuing to be available. And I just want to embrace and honor them. We experience belonging. And if you know anything about the difference between fitting in and belonging, you are not a square peg in a round hole. We are all unique and we all belong. We feel accepted where we are and we embrace our commonality. I talk about practice, Patricia.
Yeah, practice. We do it again and again and again and again. We learn to apply the tools and techniques that will lead to our transformation. We turn noticing into our new default mode. That's a nice phrase there. We respect the practices to strengthen our healing. We repeat the practices that strengthen our healing. And I have so much confidence in this because I have seen it just act out right in front of me. I see it every day. I see it. I see people's ahas, they're noticing their struggle, they're going back, coming forward, staying in, and it gives me tremendous confidence to know of what we speak.
This is extremely personal to me. I believe very strongly that this was Patricia and my calling. I don't say those words lightly, but I do know that we came together years ago knowing that we were going to get to this place. And we're constantly learning, we're constantly embracing new ideas and coming up with the new reasons why this might be important. And that's why we're excited about offering this in this way. So I just want to give you guys the link to sign up for this course. I'm going to put it in the chat thread. I really encourage you to sign up. We're going to be starting next Saturday, and we want you to be included. The link here pulls you right to the page that explains a lot. It shows the dates, it shows the class. It also shows, I really want to encourage you to read the testimonials. I'm particularly proud of the work that Patricia and I have done, and I'm grateful because we can't do this alone. This requires trusted community. This requires investment from others. Just like when you can see when someone is talking and they're able to nod their head, that is vital to healing. Vital. That's resonance. That's what I'm talking about. There's a difference between noticing what's going on, which is a vital step, and the resonance, which is healing. And when you can do this in community, you don't even have to do this. But when you see someone else sharing, or when you see Patricia and I sharing, and that you see that nodding that was just going on, Patricia's nodding. That is resonance. She's accompanying me. She's recognizing that where I am right now is important. She's not trying to push me out of it. That's advice giving. She's recognizing where I am right now and honoring it. That's what we need to feel in order to heal. We need to be able to name that emotion, and we need to be able to send it away to the hippocampus. It's still in our world. It still happened to us, but it no longer grips us. It's no longer the safety world, the crisis. It's not an external problem because it didn't happen just now. It's just a reminder of something that scared us from the past. And we want to put those things where they belong, in the timeline. We deserve those things. I have tons of scars. We deserve those scars. Those battle scars are the reasons that we are stronger. So the link there gives you access to the landing page, which is basically all the information you need. Please reach out to Patricia or I if you have any questions. Are there any other questions anyone has right now about anything that we've offered today, or any questions about something that might confuse you? I really appreciate you all hanging out here, being so present for us. Truly appreciate you. These masterclasses, by the way, I'll be posting the 3 masterclasses out. I'll be sharing them, opening them up to the public, if you will, on YouTube. And you're welcome to share them out. If you go to Transform with Sonia on YouTube, you'll find them. I haven't posted them yet, so give me a minute. But you have the links to the other 2 masterclasses, and this recording will also go up. I really encourage you to share these out with your friends. That can sometimes feel like a lot. It sometimes feels vulnerable. when you share something that feels really important to you, you want to be received in the same way. But I encourage you to share these out. I do know we've gotten a lot of positivity, and we're hoping that we'll get a lot of people that are interested in walking on this journey with us. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Patricia?
I was just thinking of that 12 step, what I got from 12 step about the principle of attraction, not promotion, because we recoil at promotion. It's not about promoting. It's about just talking about what you're getting. You don't have to even ask anybody to join anything. It's about just talking about what you're gaining from the work, and people will be attracted to it or not.
Yeah. Please reach out to us if you've got any questions. And my hope is that you'll take this leap of faith with us. So we're hoping that you'll be with us in this journey too. All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day. See you around.